Meeting of the San Mateo County Board of Education will come to order. As is our practice, this meeting will be recorded. I warmly welcome our Youth Commission Liaison, Bethany Zhao, joining the board at the dais. I also note that Superintendent McGee is joining us remotely this evening. The board provides remote access for members of the public and welcomes community members joining in person and remotely. The board is following the requirements of Assembly Bill AB 2449, which enables remote participation by board members only under specific circumstances. We use simultaneous interpretation in Spanish for those attending virtually through the end of public comment. Translation will continue further into the meeting if people are utilizing the channel. So thank you to our interpreters, Ana Cruz and Kimberly Larios, for joining us remotely. For meeting attendees wishing to access the Spanish translation channel on Zoom, please click on the interpretation button on the menu bar. We ask all speakers to be mindful of the Spanish interpretation and speak slowly and clearly. Item 1B is the approval of the agenda. I note that item 4E, the introduction of new staff member Ron Campana, Coordinator, College Career and Community Partnerships, Educational Services Division, has been tabled to the next meeting. Is there a motion to approve the amended agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. There is a motion to approve the amended agenda made by Trustee Gerard and a second by Trustee Alvaro. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 7-0, and the amended agenda for tonight's meeting has been approved. Item 2 is public comment. Guidelines for public comment are available on the SMCOE website and in board docs and on the table outside the boardroom in both English and in Spanish. Speakers who require Spanish interpretation, our interpreters, Ms. Cruz and Ms. Larios, will interpret following each speaker's comments. At this time, members of the public may provide comment for topics not included on the approved agenda. The County Board of Education does not act upon any matter that has not been agendized except under limited circumstances as permitted by law. It is the policy of the County Board to refer matters raised in this forum to the superintendent for investigation and or action where appropriate. Superintendent McGee, do we have any comments submitted prior to the meeting?
We did have comments submitted prior to the meeting. We had we put together a packet of about 45 pages of comments from current and former staff out at Outdoor Ed. What we plan, we've already forwarded that to the board, those 45 pages. And what we'd like to do is any individual who submitted a written document, we would ask that you refrain from speaking in the public speaking comment tonight. If you were not able to get a pre-written comments turned in before tonight's meeting, we will take up your comments during the live comments section.
Thank you. So due to the large number of anticipated people wishing to make public comment, speakers are invited to make live comment and have 1 minute to speak. The board's executive assistant, Jennifer Perna, will keep the time and advise when the speaker has 30 seconds left. There might also be a timer on the screen, so please keep within the time limits. To make a comment over Zoom, members of the public may use the raise hand feature. Instructions for using this feature are provided as an attachment in the board packet. Once the hand is raised, please wait to be acknowledged by Superintendent McGee. Superintendent McGee, are there any members of the public attending remotely who wish to make a comment at this time?
Let me see here. Yes, we have one speaker, Janice Pellizzari, who is online. Janice? Let me get you, let me give you permission. Okay, you're good to go.
Okay. Good evening, President Torres, Board Trustees, and Superintendent McGee. I wanted to report on the beginning of the 25-26 school year. We have been back for 6 days, 3 with staff and 3 with kids. It's been a rocky start. 2 of our 3 programs have started without their principals. Ann Campbell Center lost Heather Logan on June 30th. Most of her staff is feeling a huge loss for their program. K-22 has Ellen out and Miss Ziegler is filling in for her. I hear that she has been doing a nice job, but it's not the same as having your own principal. Corn Community has started the year yet again with new principal and vice principal this year. We are still learning how to adjust with the new leadership. It has been smooth in some places and rocky in others. At Court, we have 2 teachers that retired after school started, and we still have not hired for positions that we lost at the beginning of last year, as well as the RSP teacher that we held interviews for in May in hopes that if we didn't find one, we could hold second round interview, or second set of interviews in June, which didn't happen. As well as one SMCA teacher was transferred to Canyon Oaks only days before the school year started, which was frustrating for her since every day of ESY2, she was asking if they had the assignments ready. As for Gateway, we have 6 kids that started with us. It has been a really great, smooth beginning to our school year. I know K-12 had a great start, and I know Hillcrest might have had a pretty, or a little rocky start, and I'm not quite sure about Ann Campbell. I know I'm meeting with the preschool population tomorrow. We are excited to talk about our comp study and what it has found for us with HR since we increased principal salaries before ours so we could find fitting applicants. With so many SMC positions open, we might need to get through our comp study so we can do the same thing. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. And we also have Johanna Rasmussen. Johanna, let me get you. There you go. You are allowed, you're free to talk now.
Thank you so much. My name is Johanna Rasmussen.
You're muted, Johanna.
Yeah, let me fix this. I hit Janice and it muted Johanna. So hang on a second. It's not allowing me to.
Here, I'll come back on so you can shut me off and maybe that'll allow you to do it.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So I'm Johanna Rasmus. I'm the chair of the Juvenile Justice Commission for the County of San Mateo. And the reason why I'm speaking tonight is I just wanted to let the board know that the commission intended to do an evaluation of Gateway this year. On any given week, we get calls from students and parents. Both of the prior principals have been in contact with us when there have been problems over there. And so we were concerned and wanted to look into what was happening. And we were denied the request to do so. We were told that that was not under our purview, and we didn't feel that was very transparent. The process was confusing because we also have county council and they weren't contacted. So I just wanted to make the board aware of what has transpired. And Tuesday night, the commission will be voting to take on a Gateway project where we'll spend the next year doing an in-depth look of Gateway and the services that are provided to our at-risk youth. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And that is all the speakers who are online.
Thank you. Members of the public may also provide live comment in person. Superintendent McGee, are there any submitted cards?
Yes, and I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Superintendent Marco Chavez because we have several speakers. We want to make sure we get them in the right order and not miss anybody. So since I am remote, Deputy Superintendent Chavez is going to take over for this part.
Thank you.
Our first speaker, Owen Meladi, please.
Can you hear me? Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
We are San Mateo Outdoor Education. Our group is not just composed of the staff of Outdoor Ed, but of our entire community. Many of us are naturalists, but among us are former students, high school cabin leaders, interns, current students, and fifth grade teachers. We are San Mateo County, and we are asking you to hear our story and help us advocate for our program. For those who are unaware, on July 17th, the full-time employees of SMO, San Mateo Outdoor Ed, were informed that our interns' hours will be reduced from about 42 to 29.5 hours a week for the upcoming school year in order to be compliant with labor regulations in California. To make up for the deficit in hours, we are tasked with hiring 5 additional interns. This decision was made by county office leaders without input from our outdoor education team, and the reasoning behind it was communicated poorly. To those outside our program, this change may not seem like the end of the world, but for our systems, which have been in place for decades, this reduction in internship hours has a significant impact. Given just over a month to prepare, the lead naturalists are currently scrambling to salvage something meaningful out of the disastrous impacts that this decision will have on our program. Outdoor Ed's teaching team is the intern naturalists. They are the lifeblood of the program, and through their work, accomplish something incredibly unique and impactful. As naturalists, they guide 5th and 6th grade students through a week in our beautiful redwood forest. They are their teachers, but also their primary caregivers during this time, leading weeks full of wonder, learning, science, and growth.
We
Oh,
are at time. If you can wrap up the statement, please. Thank you.
Lily Tatusko, followed by Joshua Stacy.
Just gonna be continuing what I'm saying. Our work is deeply rooted not just in NGSS, but also in social emotional development of our students. We've seen immense growth in the 5th grade graders of San Mateo County, and it has been an honor to serve this population for the last 60 years. In a world that is increasingly addicted to screens and indoor time, the importance of taking students out of their comfort zones and into nature has never been more important. At the core of outdoor education is a relationship that is built between the naturalists and the students. 11-year-olds are taken out of their homes and support systems and asked to live with people they've never met and try new things every day. Because of this, students often spend the week working through some of the most significant emotions they've ever felt. Not all students are well-versed in advocating for their own needs, working through conflict with friends, meeting people who are different from them, and getting through feelings of discomfort and fear. Luckily, their assigned intern naturalist is trained to guide them through these challenges. This relationship isn't a given. It takes effort, intention, and most of all, time. Our interns work incredibly hard to know each student enough to care for them in ways unique to their individual needs. Taking 10 hours of their time with the kids opens up a huge gap in the emotional and physical safety that we are able to provide at outdoor education.
Joshua Stacy, followed by Steve Van Zandt.
Historically, our internship program has comprised of 11 folks from all over the county, but mainly from here in San Mateo County. They receive 3 weeks of training and shadowing that is carefully crafted to ground them in the theory and practice of creating magical experiences for students. In addition, once a week, they have a 2-hour-long professional development session where they learn how to lesson plan, use positive discipline techniques, and care for students with all different needs, backgrounds, and abilities. Our reputation for the quality of our training makes our interns extremely competitive candidates once they leave our program. It is also the only reason that we can provide the level of safety and quality that we have provided for the past 60 years. This decision forces us to reduce the amount of training they can receive. We will not be able to train them to our typical standards before students arrive, and we will have fewer hours dedicated to professional development throughout the year. This reduction in training directly translates to a reduction in the quality of the experience. It will also require the senior staff to make up for this deficit in hours, and without a change in compensation, the experience of the interns will simply be less impactful. While San Mateo Outdoor Education employees have been assured that this change is temporary and that we will be part of a solution that keeps us compliant with the law and maintains the magic and traditions of our program, we were not informed of that until 2 days ago. For an entire month, we were under the impression that our 60-year-old program was changing permanently and we had no power over it. All of these changes were presented to us in a way that ignored our personhood. Not only does it create more work for us, it hurts to see our internship program impacted. Our quality of housing was also greatly impacted, and we did not have the right number of houses for extra staff we required. Instead, we were forced to use housing previously reserved for students with accessibility needs to house our staff. This impacts who is able to attend outdoor ed. Additionally, senior staff members are now making a lower hourly wage than the interns we are training. When these decisions were brought to us, our questions were ignored and deflected. We are not given the grace and patience and consideration we deserve and are used to receiving from our leadership.
We are at time.
Steve Van Zandt, followed by Shluk Chaudhry.
Thank you. Thank you to the board for your service, and thank you to Superintendent McGee. My name is Steve Van Zandt. I was a naturalist in the 70s. I came back and was principal for 30 years from 93 to 23. And I have the longest view on the planet of this program. And the internship, Mark Nolan and I took careful intention to make sure that internship was met. So those interns got, it wasn't just cheap labor, but it focused not only on the students, that we told our interns, not our senior staff, not only focused on the students, but focused on giving those interns the best experience they could have. And that includes not just how to teach, that included how to manage a program, how to have leadership skills. All of those things are compromised right now. How to take autonomy in the program, all of those are being compromised by this new setup. And I really hope the board looks at that and it returns to status quo next year.
Shluk Chaudhry, followed by Neil McBride.
Hello, board. Can you hear me? Hello, board. My name is Shluk Chaudhary, and I thoroughly enjoyed outdoor ed. This was one of the biggest learning moments for me in 5th grade. Naturalists played a big part in this experience. My naturalist was Harbor. She sang, danced, and was so into it. And she brought us along with her. She made us feel safe physically and emotionally. For example, on the very first day, we went through the woods and she helped point out poison oak and poison ivy. Another example is when we went to the beach and there was actually a tsunami warning, and they kept us safe by rushing us home and back into our cabins. Being away from parents means we are emotionally a little bit unstable, but Harbor was always there in case we needed to talk or just needed to know where the water fountain was. Soon enough, we built a strong relationship. One example is on the night where we would dance. Harbor was on the dance floor, totally vibing, and I was on the side a little bit nervous. So she came over and helped me and explained to me that if you get into it, it's not going to be embarrassing. Another example is when we were saying goodbye. This was one of the saddest moments of outdoor ed, but I could tell that she also didn't want to say goodbye, which shows how important, how strong the relationship was between the students and the naturalist. Harbor became a mentor and a role model, and now I'm looking forward to high school because then I will be able to become a cabin leader and revisit outdoor ed once again. All in all, outdoor ed was an amazing experience, and the naturalists played a big part in it. I believe that all students should be able to have the same experience as I did. Thank you.
Neil McBride, followed by Surya Anand.
Thank you, members of the board and Superintendent Nancy McGee. We're asking you for your help to hold the county office accountable for their actions and to help us ensure that we can make progress moving forward to keep our program in the stead that it has been for so many decades. We need your help. It wasn't until recently that Chris Schaus stepped forward to reach out in Olive Branch and help us bridge some gaps and reconcile some of the harms. And for that, I think we owe her a thank you. Thank you. We want to make sure that the county office honors their commitment to making sure that staff are whole, because our interns work incredibly hard. They dedicate their lives, they dedicate their times. I myself has been a naturalist for 13 years. And we feel that is imperative for the board, for the county office as a whole, Superintendent McGee, to honor and respect the traditions, the power of our internship. As you saw here, we're affecting lives every single day, and we need your help. And we hope that as we move forward through this process, that we can continue to reconcile and repair and make whole our program once again. And for that, I thank you, because I've dedicated my life to this program. And there's nothing more important to me in this moment than making sure that outdoor education remains as impactful as it has been for as long as it has moving forward into the future. Thank you for your time.
Surya Anand, followed by Eleanor Levinson Muth. Do you prefer to sit? We have an extra mic.
You hear me? My name is Surya Anand. I'm a sixth grader at Montrona Middle School. First, I would like to say thank you for the opportunity to share my experience with you. Before I start, I have to say outdoor ed is the best. Just the activities alone can top some places I've been, but it wasn't only the activities we did we were great, it was the people around us, such as other kids, our cabin leader, and naturalist, especially our cabin leader and naturalist. My cabin leader and naturalist names were Dylan and Harbor, some of the best people I know to this day. Even the small things they did, such as playing guitar to help us sleep or making sure we were comfortable, was so nice. I benefit from outdoor ed so much, I can't put it into words. Now I know about kindness, nature, and so much more. I always thought that being away from home would be scary, but it was anything but that. Sleeping with other kids, sharing the bathrooms, 2-minute showers. I thought I knew that would be bad, but I loved it. Outdoor ed taught me so many things, and not just nature. It taught me the importance of friendship and both consequences and incentives. They did this by pairing us up with someone we didn't know. They also did this by giving out their warning system. I'm not proud to say that by the first day of outdoor ed, I already had 2 strikes. But for the rest of the week, I didn't get a single strike because I realized these warnings are not jokes and they are actually for good reason. Although there are many rumors about outdoor ed, such as the spaghetti makes you sick, or the boys' cabins are bigger than girls' cabins, etc. But none of these are true, and outdoor ed is just a truly amazing place.
Eleanor Levinson Muth, followed by Liz Mylad.
Good evening. Can you all hear me? Okay, good evening to the board and good evening to Superintendent McGee. Thank you again for taking the time to listen to our concerns tonight. My name is Eleanor Levinson Muth, and I want to speak to the experience of interns at Outdoor Education. So I was an intern myself 2 years ago, and I'm now an outdoor educator at Exploring New Horizons Outdoor School in Santa Cruz County. And it's not an exaggeration to say that completing this internship changed my life. When I arrived at San Mateo Outdoor Ed, I wasn't certain of the direction I wanted my career to take. And a year later, I left with new skills, with passion for education, and determined to continue pursuing education as my career. In addition, the high quality training that I received at San Mateo Outdoor Education made me competitive as an applicant at other outdoor schools. All I had to do was say the name, San Mateo Outdoor Ed, and directors of other outdoor schools sat up and took notice because they knew the high quality of the education and training that interns receive. But more than that, it was really the connections with students that I was able to make at Outdoor Ed that made my year as an intern truly impactful. I can't imagine making those kinds of connections with only 3/4 or less of the time of the complete internship. I'm thinking about, you just heard from some of our students. So the types of experiences they're describing where a single naturalist is able to bond deeply with them and to take them through an entire day at outdoor education, from maybe their first time seeing the ocean in the morning to experiences making new friends and bonding with students from different schools in the afternoon, all the way to maybe the night hike or a dance party at night, which could be their first time walking at night, seeing the Milky Way, hearing an owl. Being able to have all of those experiences with students is deeply impactful for the students and for us. And it would be impossible to do that if interns were only able to work half a day or weren't able to stay with the whole group for the same week. So I just,
We are at time.
thank you. Thank you for listening to our concerns.
Liz Mylud, followed by Tim Daly.
Hi, my name is Liz Mylod, and tonight I'm here in support of our outdoor education program and in protest of the proposed cuts to the naturalist hours. I know the proposed plan would end the current schedule of having one naturalist per group for the students for the entire week. One naturalist per group of kids. That means security. This week away from home is nerve-wracking for our parents, and it's scary for our students, many of whom this is their first time away from home. The one thing that alleviates all these fears, that allows for this trust, is knowing that there's one consistent caretaker for our kids, their naturalists. From day one, the naturalist priority is building a relationship with the students, making them feel seen, safe, and included. I see their commitment from the first day when naturalists ask me specific and insightful questions about my students. This information is used to inform decisions that naturalist makes all week, from deciding how to best support a homesick student to helping encourage a reluctant student to participate on trail. This type of information simply can't be efficiently passed between different naturalists. With rotating naturalists, you cannot provide the care for students in the same way. I think it's also important to note that the outdoor ed lessons are a model, a gold standard of scientific teaching in the outdoors. These lessons are delivered in every imaginable way. Students leave with a genuine commitment of taking care of our earth, which is a direct result of those immersive and excellent lessons. The cut in hours will decrease the amount of time our students spend on these lessons and thus lower the quality of this valuable and unique education outdoor ed offers. It will decrease its positive lasting impact.
We are
As a
at
student
time.
slide, okay, thank you. I just want to say, I don't think I said who I am. I'm Liz Mylod. I'm a teacher. I went to outdoor ed as a 5th grader. I went back as a cabin leader. I have gone many times with Redwood City and Menlo Park schools. Thank you for this time.
Tim Daly, followed by Whitney Twait.
Hi there. I want to say thank you to the board members and Superintendent McGee for the work that you're doing here today. My name is Tim Daly. I'm an intern from 2016. The program that Mark Nolan and Steve Van Zandt curated over decades inspired me to pursue a career in education. It was the most impactful experience of my life because of the immersion in community teaching and nature. The changes being made to outdoor ed will diminish the quality of the program for students and staff just completely. The connection between naturalist and student that makes our program so impactful will not be the same. Students will be adrift between various naturalists because no intern is able to work a full day and give them that commitment. Despite the interns, the ones that we hire, I mean, they bring so much passion and joy for what they do. To me, it seems that the soul of the program is compromised if naturalists aren't even given this chance. On top of the significant reduction in quality for the interns and students alike, the housing situation for everyone now is dire. Interns will be forced into housing that is inadequate, and senior staff has already needed to take housing away from students that have accessibility needs. We're not here today because we refuse to change. However, we ask in the future to have a seat at the table. We hope you can understand how important these small changes can be and how important outdoor ed is for the students and everyone in San Mateo County.
Whitney Twait, followed by Alexandra Edwards.
Hi, my name is Whitney Thwaite, and I'm a fourth and fifth grade science teacher at La Entrada School in Menlo Park. Ever since I began this position, I've joined our fifth grade students at Outdoor Ed. As their science teacher, I see the enthusiasm and learning that take place while experiencing the redwood forest, the beach, the garden, and mountains at night. They get to experience firsthand things that they may have learned, things that they will soon be learning. A big part of their experience is working with the naturalists throughout the week. The bond they develop with the naturalists and the respect they gain for the naturalists both enriches their personal self-awareness and self-confidence and their respect for the natural world. Each year, I also see a number of kids emotionally depend on their interns, naturalist interns. Away from home, the naturalist is someone that knows them and cares about them. The naturalist has been given the individual information to make informed decisions about kids' well-being while they are in this less familiar environment. The consistency means a lot to these kids and is important to be maintained. A quick note, I still remember my week at Outdoor Ed 50 years ago. And sorry, I don't know why I'm getting emotional. Liz Mila, that's your job. I know. So please don't reduce the time naturalists spend with these students. The learning and growing depend on it. Thank you.
Alexandra Edwards, followed by Ben Crook.
Hello, thank you so much for being here tonight and hearing our concerns. I'm Allie Edwards. I'm a former intern 3 years ago and a current fifth grade teacher at San Francisco Day School up in the city. And similar to some of my friends and colleagues that have talked, I did not know I was going to pursue education until I did this internship 3 years ago. It also absolutely changed and pivoted my life in so many ways that have only enhanced it, especially wanting to be a teacher with fifth graders specifically. And I was only able to know that I really like the fifth grade age because I was able to be with them the full week. I think it's an exciting age for the height of their kid power, but it can be a lot if you're only with them 1 or 2 days. So, and that's what would happen if you reduce the hours of the interns. They wouldn't be able to know the kids. They wouldn't be able to know how to support them, their needs. And so we're asking, please, next time to consider the staff in the decision, and we're very grateful for it all. Thank you.
Ben Crook.
Hello, board. Thank you so much for your time. And Superintendent Nancy McGee. I'm going to try to wrap up what has been shared already. Our other ask is that in the future, interns will be considered full employees with benefits. A large part of the reason why this decision was made was so that we can stay in compliance with labor laws that state that any employee working over 30 hours a week is entitled to benefits. It is no coincidence that our interns are now not allowed to work more than 29.5 hours a week. Our interns work incredibly hard, and they deserve for our county office to take care of them the same way they are taking care of the fifth graders in this community for 30 weeks a year. At Outdoor Ed, we teach our students ways to be empowered to make changes in their community. We teach them how to connect with nature and themselves. We teach them how to do hard things, how to make mistakes and learn from them, and how to communicate their needs. Now we are here practicing what we preach. We need all of the help we can get. Thank you for your time.
President Torres, that was the final card submitted.
Thank you. Public comment addressing a specific agenda item will be heard after the board's discussion on the item. If members of the public wish to speak to a specific agenda item, please use the raise hand feature when the item is announced, or if in person, submit a card in advance of the item. Before I move on to item 3A, for our youth who spoke, can you please leave your emails with Jennifer Perna? So for our 2 youth who spoke, Jennifer, if you could collect their emails, please. Thank you. Item 3A is the August 2025 Employee of the Month, Christina Sellers, Administrative Assistant 3, Safe and Supportive Schools, Educational Services Division. Will Christina please join me in the middle of the room? So each month, the board and superintendent recognize an employee for providing outstanding service. For the month of August 2025, Christina Sellers, Administrative Assistant 3, Safe and Supportive Schools Educational Services Division. Christina joined the county office in July of 2023 during one of the busiest times of the year, and from day one, she jumped in with enthusiasm and professionalism. In her first month, she began planning, coordinating, and hosting full-day workshops for districts, often assisting with multiple events each week. This early display of initiative set the tone for the outstanding contributions that she has continued to make. Throughout her time with the county office, Christina has been a steady and reliable support to all of the managers in her department. She consistently steps up to assist fellow administrative staff, help with large-scale events, and complete projects with impressive turnaround times. She is the kind of team member everyone hopes for, always smiling, ready to lend a hand, and fully committed to getting the job done. One of Christina's most notable contributions this past year was helping to create and launch the Countywide Student Attendance Review Board, or SARB. This initiative quickly grew beyond its original scope, but Christina faced the challenge with grace, creativity, and empathy. As part of her role, she regularly communicates with families whose students have not been attending school, and these can be difficult and emotional conversations. Christina handles these situations with remarkable composure and compassion. Drawing on her background as a classroom teacher and tutoring center manager, she meets families where they are, provides clear and empathetic explanations of the SARB process, and often works in tandem with interpreters to ensure families are heard and understood. Christina is described by her team as an absolute rock star. Her dedication, warmth, and professionalism towards her team, as well as the students they serve, cannot be overstated. They are incredibly grateful for all that she brings to the department. We are proud of our county office staff and are pleased to recognize Christina Sellers for her outstanding work. Congratulations to Christina for being named Employee of the Month for August of 2025. Would you like to say a few words?
Good evening, Board President Torres, members of the board, and Superintendent McGee. I just want to say thank you so much for this recognition. I'm very grateful for my wonderful, supportive, amazing team at Safe and Supportive Schools. And I'm looking forward to continue to support and work and grow with the department. And thank you again. I really appreciate this. Thank you.
And this is also for you. Item 4A is the introduction of Valerie Arbizu, Executive Director, Safe and Supportive Schools Educational Services Division. Executive Director Arbizu. Hopefully I said that correctly. Oh, yay.
Usually that Z just totally throws people off. Good evening, Board President Torres, members of the board, Superintendent McGee, and folks who are online and in the audience. I am incredibly excited to join the San Mateo County Office of Education in this role as the Executive Director of Safe and Supportive Schools. When I grew up in Gilroy, and trust me, this will be short, I went to a high school in, it was a one high school town, and being in a school where you serve every student and every student's needs can be tricky. Especially when you're in a town that feels a little bifurcated, both racially and socioeconomically. But that had a huge impact on who I was growing up and who I became as an educator. I started working in Eastside San Jose. I taught English from support classes with freshmen all the way through starting our AP English Literature and Language programs. I was there for 7 years before I started making my way up the peninsula, and I've been working in San Mateo County for the last 13 years as a site administrator with San Mateo Union High School District. I was honored to serve the Millbrae community as an assistant principal at Mills. I was at Burlingame High School as an assistant principal for 6 years, and then I served the Aragon community as principal, as the pandemic principal, starting in 2020 when everything was shut down, and raising that back up as students started coming back to school. It's been a humbling experience. I have an amazing amount of gratitude for all of the people that I've had an opportunity to work with. And I'm really excited to be here to continue the work that I've been doing for the last 23 years. My focus has been on making sure every student comes to school feeling seen and safe, building schools that I would want my own son to attend. And he did. My son graduated from San Mateo Union High School District in 2021, and he just got a job with San Mateo Foster City, working with students. So we're keeping the educators going. I'm super proud of him for that work. And I'm really excited to have so many people here from our department. You just met Christina, and then we have other folks here and they're waving signs because some people wanted to be here, but they're taking their children to college as well. So there's a lot of educators in the department. And so I'm really excited to be here and continue that work. And yeah, here we go. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Item 4B is the introduction of Jason Arenas, Assistant Principal, Court and Community Schools, Educational Services Division. Assistant Principal Arenas.
Good evening, buenas tardes, Board President Torres, members of the board, Superintendent McGee, and community. My name is Jason Arenas, and I'm honored to serve as a new Assistant Principal of Core and Community Schools here at the San Mateo County Office of Ed. It's my privilege to join this incredible team and to help advance the One SMCOE vision and values in support of our students and families. I'm a proud son of two resilient immigrant parents from Colombia who was raised in Eastern San Gabriel Valley of Los Angeles. My career in education spans over 20 years. I began as a high school soccer coach. And when I moved up here from Southern California, I started as a AmeriCorps academic mentor for first generation migrant communities in Sonoma County. Since then, I've held diverse leadership roles across California, including teacher, assistant principal, district director, and most recently principal and teacher at a small rural public school in Contra Costa County. Alongside my work in K through 12 education, I've also contributed to youth development, nonprofit, and community engagement programs. My educational philosophy is rooted in the belief that all children are brilliant. Every student deserves caring adults, equitable opportunities, and a chance to learn, make mistakes, and thrive, regardless of their backgrounds or circumstances. I'm deeply committed to building the capacity of our educators, partnering with families, and working with community organizations to interrupt inequities and ensure every student in our county is successful. I want to express my gratitude to my colleagues, Executive Director Sarah Notch, Associate Superintendent Chris Schaus, Director Dr. Jesus Jimenez, Principal Freedom Siam, and Superintendent Nancy McGee for welcoming me into this role as I'm in my 7th week. And I'm extremely excited and have spent many days already in the classroom teaching and getting to know our young people and our staff. I'd like to thank you all for this opportunity and have a good evening.
Thank you. Item 4C is the introduction of Eric Arteaga, Supervisor, Fiscal Services, Business Services Division. Supervisor Arteaga.
Hello, President Torres, members of the board, and Superintendent McGee. My name is Eric Arteaga. I am the somewhat new Fiscal Services Supervisor for Internal Business Services. I started working at SMCOE a little over a year now, back in June of 2024. In my role, I worked with programs such as the Teacher and Administrative Development Program, Career Technical Education Program, Curriculum Instructional Services, among others. And once I got a good hold of that, I started asking for more responsibility, and that quickly grew to include some programs in the superintendent's office, the special education program, which is pretty big. And from there, I just kept asking for more and more, and thankfully, Manette gave that to me. And after about a year, she approached me and said, would I be interested in this position? And absolutely. I've always been the type of person that tries to take on as much as I can, and I'm really appreciative that she sees that in me. And I'm really looking forward to this new position to meet all the other people in the other programs that I wasn't working on before, support the financial analysts that were, my colleagues as well at the time, and really just learning and growing. This is my first role in education. I wasn't in this field at all before. I was in real estate, and before that, I was in a small mom and pop type of shop as a business analyst. And so this is something relatively new to me. And so, I've really enjoyed it so far, and really looking forward to growing in this role. So it's a little bit about myself.
Thank you. Item 4D is the introduction of Heather Campagna, Supervisor Payroll Business Services Division. Supervisor Campagna.
My name's Heather Campagna. I'm the new payroll supervisor in District Business Services. I've been working in San Mateo County in elementary, middle school, or high schools as a parent volunteer, a volunteer coach, a paid coach. I've held various PTO and school sports booster positions. I've been a para, yard duty. I have been an office assistant, a sub, a fill-in, a hey, can you do this? Can you do that? We need this done, we need that done, planning events for students. Until my position before I got here, I was a payroll technician for about 10 years. I came to San Mateo County about 2 years ago and was lucky enough to be mentored by Faith Marty Kruger, who recently retired. She taught me a lot. Sorry. I currently have a team of 5 fabulous people. They're working really hard on the implementation of the new Frontline ERP system. And I look forward to the journey that I have with them, serving the 24 districts and the students in the districts and all of the staff that often get forgotten. I look forward to dealing and learning from the internal business services and Kevin, as well as Eric, and also from the DBS, the District Business Services, all the financial analysts, all of the people the accountants and everything like that. I look forward to, and I want to thank Doris and Danya and Kevin for the opportunity to become a supervisor. And I'm excited about the chance and the experiences I'm going to learn from them and the mentoring that they're going to provide, because ERP is very interesting and we look forward to the everyday challenges. Thank you for your time.
Mr. President, I just wanted to say second that, because I remember since I've got elected to the board here, I've had several employees come up and remember me from when I was on the school board in Pacifica. And I remember Heather was very active and loved in Pacifica. And I remember being on the soccer field with her kids and PTO meetings, et cetera, when I was on the board. So congratulations, Ed.
Welcome. So as noted earlier in the meeting, item 4E has been tabled until the next meeting. Item 4F is the introduction of Freedom Siam, Principal Court and Community Schools Educational Services Division. Principal Siam or Siam.
Thank you, President Torres. Siam or Principal Free, as long as you say it with love and respect, I'm okay with that. Good evening, board. Superintendent McGee, I believe, is at home. Okay. And President Torres, board, thank you for the opportunity to speak before you. It's an honor to join you tonight as the new principal of Court and Community Schools. And my journey in this role has been shaped by over 2 decades of service and education, spanning classroom instruction, site leadership, curriculum development, and district level administration. Each step has deepened my commitment to equity, student voice, and transformative learning. My trajectory in the education started as a youth confronting many different challenges. Those challenges propelled me into this calling. And I began my career in alternative education settings, teaching students whose lives were shaped by systemic barriers and personal challenges. And that experience grounded me in the belief that every student, especially those impacted by poverty, trauma, or the justice system, deserves a school that sees their full humanity and potential. As the principal of Balboa High School in San Francisco Unified, I led a school-wide transformation that doubled staff diversity, expanded ethnic studies, and built restorative practices into the fabric of our culture, and deepened community partnerships with community-based organizations, which I also hope to do here in San Mateo County. This helped create a school that was not just academically rigorous, but emotionally safe and culturally affirming. In my recent role prior to arriving here as Director of Human Resources for Sequoia Union High School District, I led classified union relations, compliance efforts, and equity-focused hiring practices. I also served as a supervisor for history, social science, and ethnic studies in San Francisco, where I facilitated the design of culturally responsive curriculum and built pipelines for the future of educators of color. This principalship is more than a position, it's a return to my roots. Court and community schools serve students I know very well, students I've taught, mentored, and advocated for. And I bring to this role not only instructional expertise and systems leadership, but a deep understanding of trauma-informed, culturally responsive, and community-driven approaches that these students deserve. My why is clear. I'm here to serve students who have been underserved, to lead with integrity and urgency, and to build a school culture where healing and learning goes hand in hand. And I look forward to partnering with you in advocating for our students and to ensure our court and community schools are places of hope, opportunity, and transformation. Thank you.
Item 4G is the introduction of Cindy Nielsen, Coordinator Special Education Local Plan Area, also known as our SELPA. Coordinator Nielsen is joining us remotely this evening. Coordinator Nielsen.
Hello, good evening. Board President Torres, members of the board, Superintendent McGee. Thank you for the opportunity to share a bit about myself as I started as a coordinator in the SELPA. I'm joining the SELPA from Boston Public Schools, where I worked for 15 of my 23 years in education. My career is focused on special education and centering equitable access to high-quality education for students with disabilities and their families. I've been a paraprofessional, teacher, school leader, and assistant superintendent of special education. Most recently, I was a regional school leader serving high schools in Boston Public Schools, supporting and coaching school leaders in the creation and implementation of programming for students with disabilities and MLLs. As a school leader of the Special Education Day School in Boston Public Schools, serving only students on IEPs with emotional impairment, I learned the importance of a strong centralized office that operates in service of supporting schools, specifically the teachers and staff that are in front of students every day. I'm in the process of completing my doctorate, and with this milestone happening, I decided to look in California for a new position and an opportunity to move closer to my family. When I was looking and applying for roles, I was struck and drawn to SMCOE's equity statement that uplifts work to disrupt and replace inequitable practices, honoring strengths and talents of historically marginalized populations while centering their voices, and continuous education and growth for long-term change. This commitment led me to apply, and now, gratefully, I'm able to work here and be part of supporting the implementation of the equity work here in the county. Thank you again, and I'm very excited to work for Dr. Young with the SELPA and SMCOE teams, and look forward to serving the LEAs, students, and families of San Mateo County.
For item 5A, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the July 16th, 2025 regular board meeting as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion to approve the minutes of the July 16th, 2025 regular board meeting made by Trustee O'Neill and a second by Trustee Lev. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 7-0, and the minutes of the July 16th, 2025 regular board meeting have been approved. Item 6 is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is not debatable and requires a unanimous vote for passage. Any item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular order of business for separate discussion and action if any member of the board, the superintendent, or the public so requests. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I
Thank
want
you.
to make comments on item F?
Yes.
So I don't know if you want to pull it or just hear comments. Because I want to acknowledge Igor Lakan is on with his hand raised from Elkis Ranch. So
So we can
your
go.
call, Mr. President.
Yes, we can do that for the discussion piece.
Okay.
Yeah. Um,
So
so
move to approve the consent agenda minus item.
or do we want to pull
F.
it? Okay, yeah, to follow protocol, I think it would be best to pull it. Is that good? Okay. So then is there a motion to approve the amended consent agenda?
I made a motion to
Second.
second. Okay.
Motion and then second. One more time, sorry, who made the first motion? Been a long day.
Mike.
Mike, and is there a second?
Yes. I second.
Thank you. There's a motion to approve the amended consent agenda made by trustee O'Neill and a second by trustee Gerard. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 7-0 and the amended consent agenda has been approved. Item 7A is superintendent's comments.
No,
Superintendent,
item 6F. The consent agenda was moved for Igor had his hand up.
So, Board President, what we would do here is just call item number 6F, and then public comment for that. Yeah.
Got it. Any comments or questions from the board? Any from the public?
I'll make a comment. Igor did have his hand up, but it's not there now. I just wanted to say I've worked with Elkis Ranch in my day job. I've toured it a couple times, and Igor, I don't exactly know his title, but he's the leader of the Elkis Ranch, and we should be congratulating them because they were just chosen to be called, they are now Elkis Ranch Research and Extension Center. And they will be able to bring some new ideas, abilities, and abilities to agriculture in San Mateo County because of this new designation by the UC system. So it should be able to help our kids as well as a $50 million a year industry. And of course, not there anymore. Okay. So I moved, unless somebody else has a comment, I make a move to approve 6F.
Oh, we already.
Second.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion passes with a vote of 7-0 for item 6F. Anything else? No. Item 7A is superintendent's comments. Superintendent McGee, do you have any comments to share?
Yes, I do have a few comments. I want to start just by acknowledging the amazing talent that our staff has been able to recruit and attract. This is for the new school year. This is evidence of a strong team in both personnel services, both on the personnel commission side with Executive Director Randy Perez, and on the HR side with Associate Superintendent Tammy Moore. Just very impressed with all the new hires that we have coming into the county office. There's a different level of commitment and engagement from these professionals, and I'm looking forward to working with them. Speaking of exceptional professionals, I want to acknowledge and thank Bethany Zhao, who has been our youth commissioner liaison for 2 years, sitting with the County Board of Education. She's been ambitious in her efforts to make change, stepping in to join statewide organizations and participate in statewide convenings that involve legislators and other elected officials across the state. I think Bethany, you have an amazing future ahead of you. Make sure that you're kind to yourself and take some time off every once in a while just to take care of yourself. We all have to learn that at some point when we're really progressive, go-get-em leaders. And I would say that's who you are. And just know that all of us at the County Office of Education wish you the very, very best in your college career. And like some other Youth Commission liaisons, we may see you back in the county working for some of our own elected officials here and making change for the better. So it's been a pleasure to meet you and work with you. And I just want to acknowledge all that you've done for in your role as the liaison. To the board, a couple of just heads up is that at the last board meeting, you had a group of parents come before you talking about wanting to petition and open a new charter school. They have talked about doing that in the Pacifica community. And since that time, this group of parents have been doing a lot of outreach to myself, to board members, to other staff members about the idea of a county-wide benefit charter. This is a different kind of structure, requires different parameters and obligations. And the staff would like to bring a report at the September 3rd board meeting about what a county-wide benefit charter is and how one would qualify to open or approve such a charter school, as well as a little bit of review about the process in opening up a new charter school. We want, and then from there, we'll see where this community group decides to lean in and actually turn in a fully developed petition. But wanted you to know about the September 3rd plan for a presentation. If you have specific questions about that, you could send them to me or to Marco Chavez, and we'll make sure that we try to cover those in the presentation itself. Another very exciting accomplishment that we've had at the county office is if you've gone on our website lately, you would notice that we have updated our entire County Office of Education website with current and accurate information, using new tools, new design features, and everyone's very excited about it. We're all working hard to upgrade or update our content around our program areas. And certainly the board has a whole new look with all your new pictures are posted on the website, as well as just a new look for the county board pages. I want to acknowledge the communications team, Executive Director Ian Bain, as well as Anton and Sarah Hopkins for the hard work they've done to lead the entire staff into what they need to know about using the new tools on the website and how to stick with our branding principles and just continue to have our professional public-facing look be very professional and well written. So thank you, Executive Director Bain and your team for very hard work on the website. You guys got it done really quickly, and it's really exciting to have it already there to look at and learn from. So I think that is going to conclude my comments tonight, and I turn it back over to President Torres.
Thank you. For item 8A, Lisa Cho, Deputy County Attorney, will provide a report on the regulations, processes, and the communication plan for recruiting student board members. Deputy County Attorney.
Good evening, Board President Torres, members of the board, and Superintendent McGee. I'm just going to double check that this clicker, do I have to point it at you, Jen, or can I? Okay. So we're good. Okay, thank you, technology. We had a discussion back in May about the process of recruiting student board members and, the desire of this board to continue including student board members. We took a look at our current board bylaws as well as the education code around the process and procedures for that. I'm back tonight to give you a more detailed overview of the selection process for bringing new student board members to join this group. So let's just go through this. I'm going to do a bit of review of the material that we looked at back in May. So according to our board bylaw 9150 regarding student board members, it is the professed desire of this board to include students in our governance. It's important to teach students civic involvement, and the county board has expressed the desire to support the participation of high school students in our governance procedures. And we looked at Education Code Section 1000, which sets forth all of the rules around how we bring student board members into the county board. The first way that this can happen is through petition. And we talked about a petition needs to come either from a group of 500 students, of high school students that are enrolled in the school districts of the county, or by not less than 10% of students that are enrolled in our court and community schools, which represents a far smaller group of students. And depending on how many students we actually have in our court and community schools, this really could just be a handful of students required to bring a petition. So in the case that we have a petition filed by the students of our county, the board has 60 days to within or at its next regularly scheduled meeting to order the inclusion of at least one student member. And then importantly, when we have a petition that's filed, the student that gets seated with the board is one who is enrolled in one of our court and community schools. They may be less than 18 years old, and they have to be voted in by students of the county. So it's a really interesting process. We select a student from the court and the community schools, but we put them up as candidates to be elected in by their peers who are attending high schools across the county. So that's set forth in Section 1000 of the Education Code. I took a good look at our county board policy as far as, do we have any procedures set forth as to how that communication goes out to our students? How do we, invoke student interest? How do we, what sort of time frame do we have for these processes to take place? Currently, the board bylaw 9150 does not have such specifics. And so the recommendation here tonight is that let's go through a draft or just suggestions on what to put into such a board policy. I'm happy to go back after getting feedback from the board tonight to draft that for you and present it as a board policy for review and adoption at the next 2 board meetings, if that's the desired timeframe. So the recommendation here is that the county board adopt a policy setting forth the following, so that when we have a petition that's brought by students, they need to be submitted to the county superintendent. We can select a certain due date each school year, for example, September 30th. That has to either bear 500 signatures or 10% of the number of students enrolled in the court and community schools, whichever is less. And then I am happy to draft a sample petition form for students to use in order to put that petition together. Within 60 days of receiving that petition, and then again, or at its next regularly scheduled meeting, then the board orders the inclusion of that student member. And then begins the process of selection. We have candidates for the student trustee position should be enrolled in a high school under the county board's jurisdiction, which is the court and community schools. Again, they're selected by students enrolled in the high schools in the county. How do we go about doing that? I would recommend that we have language in the board policies that says interested candidates from the court and community schools are invited to submit an application form to the county superintendent. including a brief personal statement explaining why they wish to join. The county board can set a deadline for all applications to be submitted, and then I would recommend that we close that within 30 days after submissions are solicited. And then communications should then go out to all the high schools in the county. So this is involving a bit of communication work with our 23 school districts, but to give high schoolers in our county the opportunity to take a look at the candidates and their position statements, and then give them a chance to vote. And so that's, I think internally, that's a technology related function. I would actually recommend that we have an online voting system created so that students can log in and cast their votes. So preferably there's an online link access through their school sites. So that's some coordination with our school districts in order to make that happen. And then recommendation that the voting process be concluded within, a set period of time, 15 to 30 days. And then when the selected student is identified, they are seated at the next county board meeting. So that would be the recommended process for doing the petition process for seating board members. Of course, this is always subject to any, feedback or any changes or suggestions that you'd like to talk about here tonight, but just going through the overview draft. When we have a situation where no petition has been filed, and this is currently our case now, I don't think we've ever had a student petition be filed in this county, then the county board has more freedom to select students who are either enrolled in a high school that is within our county, so any of the school districts within our county, or we can also select a student who attends the court and community schools, or both. The board certainly has discretion to order the inclusion of one or more students to the county board. So as many as you would like to include to increase student participation, you're welcome to do that. So that's set forth in Ed Code 1000. So again, our board bylaw 9150 states that if the county board does not receive that petition, the board may select a student who is enrolled in a high school, also enrolled in the court and community school. So I think there's a little bit more leeway as far as who you can select if there is no petition. Again, if we have students that are going to be selected through this process, I would recommend that we set forth procedures where students can apply and the board can review applications for interview. So we can do the application appointment process. An announcement should be sent to all high schools under the jurisdiction of the school districts in the county, as well as to our court and community schools, inviting applications from interested students by a certain due date. And the county board here can appoint a subcommittee to review these applications and select candidates that they'd like to interview. And then the county board would then set a time to conduct those interviews and then appoint their student trustees. Again, our board bylaw 9150 does not have these specifics set forth in the actual language, so I am recommending that a draft be brought forth so that the board can take a look at it and approve so that we can move forward with the actual procedure. Recommendations for the proposed county board policy would be that SMCOE sends out an announcement by a certain date to all high schools in our county, and then ask for students to apply by providing a cover letter, a resume, transcripts, and a recommendation letter. The county board subcommittee can review and select students for interview. The county board to conduct interviews and select student trustees within a certain time frame. My recommendation here would be 30 days. Again, because we're doing this at the beginning of the school year, we probably want to wrap it up rather quickly so that we have the county board members or the student members seated before we get too far into the school year. The policy should indicate that one position is going to be reserved for a student attending high school under the jurisdiction of the school districts in the county, and then one position reserved for students that are attending court and community schools, just to make that really clear to the applicants. This slide is really dense. It actually repeats information that I had provided to the board back in May. And my recommendation here is that the draft county board policy includes all of the shalls and shall nots of the student trustee role. And so what do they have the right to do? What do they not have the right to do? Importantly, I think we need to include there that the term for any student board member is for 1 year, commencing on July 1st and then ending on June 30th. If there is an opportunity to provide positions for more student members throughout the year, the county board certainly has the discretion to shorten a term and bring on more students throughout the year. So that's completely fluid. And again, this is just additional information regarding what does the student board trustee do and not do. And then what are they entitled to as far as compensation for the time that they spend sitting with the board. Sorry, I just lost my clicker. Okay. We do need to have information in this draft policy that talks about what happens if a student trustee does not attend the meetings regularly or does not fulfill the duties of the role. That's certainly a possibility. So in that case, the county board certainly has the option to remove a student trustee and then to bring on an alternate if it so chooses. If in the event the county board at some time in the future decides it does not want to include student trustees anymore, then there's also an option under Education Code 1000 to remove that student trustee position. And that would be done by a motion done at a hearing. And that is kind of the nuts and bolts of the recommended policy. Any thoughts as far as time frame, procedures, content of applications? I'm happy to take any recommendations so that we can edit and draft that for you. Yes.
Jurisdiction, define that. Is that charter schools, private schools, only public schools?
That's a good question. So yeah, the language of the statute is extremely difficult to parse out. So when we talk about schools that are under the jurisdiction of the county board, we are specifically referring to our court and community schools. And then the other language is students that attend high schools under the jurisdiction of the public school districts in the county. So it's the public schools. So our 23 school districts, which not all have high schools in them. Yeah. No. Yeah, it would only be our public schools. Yeah.
So Oxford Day would not be included in that then?
If they're not under the jurisdiction of one of our public school districts, no.
Well, I mean, it's
It's under
Yes,
us.
it's
they're-
under ours.
Okay, they're under the
County
board.
office.
Okay.
So, or county board.
Yeah,
so.
then Oxford Day would be considered part of that schools under the jurisdiction of the county board then.
Bethany?
Totally okay if you don't know this, but is there any chance you know why the board has never received a petition?
You know, I actually think it's maybe a access to information question, maybe coupled also with lack of interest. Maybe we need to publicize that more, put out more information and advertisement to our school districts that such positions are actually open and then allow students to advocate for themselves. Yeah, I think just historically, we just haven't had that come forward, but I don't know how many high schoolers are out there reading Education Code Section 1000. Probably not a whole lot. Yes.
Trustee Alvaro?
Thank you. Thank you for that. I just had two questions. If we're talking about our court and community schools, as we should be, a lot of those kids don't stay a year. So if a student, for instance, is at, let's just say Gateway, or I can't imagine somebody from Hillcrest wanting to, but you never know, and then goes back to his or her own school district, does that student remain eligible to stay on this board because they were part of our court and community schools?
So that's, I think, exactly why that Ed Code section is written the way that it is, that if there is any event that happens where a student trustee's term is ended before that 1 year is up, then the board is completely entitled to replace that student trustee. Now, if that student were to leave Gateway and go back to their home high school, my recommendation there was it would be just keep that student on, because what a wonderful testament that they're able to serve both while they were at Gateway and then when they return back to their school.
And there
district.
might be some little
Yeah, and I think
dance we
that's-
have to do to say, now you're not this, but you're that, but you're still staying on our board.
Yeah, and I think the Ed Code provides a lot of sort of discretion and leeway to the board as far as how much inclusion you want to provide to student trustees. And it exactly provides for situations like that, that students may not be there for the entire year, or they may switch school placements. And certainly, if the student started off in one school and then ended up in another, then it would be up to the board to decide, do we want to keep you? Do we want to reopen this position to another Gateway student? Yeah.
And you never know, right?
Right.
But so my other question is, I've been reading this and not understanding it. So there's the clause that says, once we get a petition, the student has to be selected by all the students in the county. So, I mean, if we only have one kid, that's going to be
Yeah, it'll be
pretty
an
easy.
interesting election.
But then But then we interview and select the student. So I cannot understand how that works.
So that's two different processes. If you have a student petition come forward, then we do have candidates that come forward and then they are selected by their peers who attend the high schools in the county. So that would be the petition process. Where there is no petition, then the board is up to its discretion to select, interview, and appoint. So that's the separate.
So it's a whole
section.
separate
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah.
So once a student files a petition and is selected by the other students in the county who probably have no idea who this student is, but
Right.
they get to vote.
Right.
We have to take them.
Yes,
We,
if-
there's no point where we say, now let's us talk to you.
Yeah, under that section that talks about the petition process, if the students come forward and say, we would like to seat a county board member of our own, peers, then we have to, the board would have to accept that. And then the selection process, again, would be done by the students, not by the board. So that's it's like a self-election.
Okay.
And that's where I was recommending that any interested candidates submit a candidate statement so that we can have like an election page where students can go and see who is this person that's interested in representing us as a student on the county board.
Yeah.
And maybe have a photo and just a little blurb of why it is that they wish to serve so that the students are better informed. And you're right. I think if you have a student coming from a smaller Corton Community School, the other kids in the county probably are not going to know who that person is. So I think having that candidate statement is important.
But we vote for people we don't know all the time. So
based on a little blurb, yep.
Okay, because my confusion was it seemed like there was this sort of two-part process where first they get selected by the students in the county and then they get selected by us.
No,
and
it's
I did
it's
not
more like two parallel tracks. to
one
get
or
to
the other.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Trustee Bonini?
I'm also confused, so I just am gonna ask first, can you clarify that there's a process for petitioning that we would have first that would be for Portland Community Schools?
No, it's an either
No.
or. So if a petition were to come forward, then we would follow the petition process. If there is no petition filed, then the county board has the discretion to conduct a recruitment.
Of Corton Community Schools?
You can select a student from Corton Community Schools and from the school districts of the county. And I think that's the desire that was expressed at the last meeting, was that this board was considering maybe having two, one from each. And that's completely within your discretion to do that.
Okay. Well, I think part of that discussion too was whether we would retain the current practice of having a youth commission liaison in addition to, and I think that would be a discussion to whether we wanted to do that and have an elected or whatever appointed student trustee. I'm not sure, but that's what I recall from the conversation.
Yeah, I think there is currently a policy in place regarding the youth commissioner, the liaison position that was, brought into play, I think in 2019 was when that was started. So we do have board policy documents around that if you wish to retain that. If you wanted to move towards more of the traditional processes that are set forth in the Ed Code, that's fine too.
Okay, so my understanding too around the liaison, it's that there's a memo or some
Yes,
documentation.
yeah.
It's not an actual policy,
Right.
I don't think, but
There's some guidelines around how they
guidelines
get
or something.
selected and how they're recommended.
Okay, great. And so the second question I have is, there is a board policy already around this notion of appointing someone. So are you, in your description of what we might add, are you talking about a regulation? Or are you talking about a separate policy?
So what I'm looking at right now is the board bylaw 9150, which very generally sets forth these procedures that we've talked about, but it doesn't give all the specifics around when would the applications be turned in, when would students have the opportunity to vote. If we had a no petition process, when would the county board accept applications from students? When would the interviews be conducted? So all of the nitty gritty around the process is not set forth in that board bylaw. And I think that's just, that's sort of the gamut template that we got. And if we want to add to that and actually set forth the deadlines and the procedures so that that becomes a document that can be provided to students to say, here's how the county board is going to conduct these interviews, or here's how the county board is going to receive a petition. It kind of just lays out the whole procedure a little more clearly than we have right now.
Well, what you're describing to me sounds more like what we have as a handbook, which would be like a regulation that goes along with the policy. just, that's what I'm hearing, but potentially it's, I guess, an amendment to the policy. Is there one or the other that you were envisioning?
The content of these slides, as I presented them tonight, I think would probably end up with a 2 to 3 page policy. I don't know that it's enough to fill a handbook. But it was just sort of recommended language to include into that board bylaw so that if an interested student were to inquire into how the county board seats student trustees, they have a reference document that they can look at.
Okay, thank you. And then my last question is there, are you aware of any counties who have, or any board members for that matter, aware of any counties who have gone through this process? And paired with that, have we seen any such policies? Or does CSBA have something that's more fleshed out? Because this has been in place kind of to respond to what Bethany said. It's been only a few years since this law has actually been.
Yeah, the Ed Code 1000, the language there sets forth again just the very general structure. And then it says that the selection process and the petition process is subject to procedures that are put into place by each county board. I have not gone and examined what other counties are doing in this regard. I think we had some feedback as far as, Santa Clara County might be doing it this way, Santa Cruz might be doing it that way. I have not gone and compared that. I just looked strictly at the language of the code and then our current policy, and then saw where, there's a little bit of gap there as far as information goes as to like, how does this process actually play out?
Thank you.
Bethany, I saw your hand earlier.
Okay, thank you. So I was just wondering if there has to be a set due date, because I was thinking about how students enter the court and community schools at different times. So if they just happen to enter at like past the due date, but they're interested, then wouldn't that like not allow them to pursue the opportunity?
Yeah, and that's a good question. And that's kind of, one that I would maybe send back to the board for consideration. I would believe that the desire to seat student trustees would, be at some point at the beginning of the school year. So you have that participation throughout the school year. And so the suggestion was September 30th. Certainly, I know like already today it's August 20th. So for this year, maybe that's too soon. But yeah, that's a great consideration as far as students who may join the court and community schools in January. Would they not have an opportunity to be seated? And so that's a question here. I mean, would you want to have maybe a secondary appointment process that opens up in the latter half of the year to provide for that option?
Thank you. Trustee Love?
Thanks for all the work on this. I remember watching a Santa Clara board meeting where they had a student participate, but they couldn't have their face shown because they were from their court program. I would like us to focus on doing our best to get a student from our program involved on the board, and prioritize and put the energy. I think it'd be hard to be running this campaign for all the high schools in the county and then focusing on our programs, just as my opinion on that. Also, this says that they'll have a vote. So then you bring in new people with votes, and then that's impactful on an organization, right? That's a high percentage of new people voting. So I would just suggest we go a little slower, or we keep a youth commission liaison who's not a voting member necessarily with a voting member from one of our programs or something. Just, I'd rather focus more on our programs than more broadly.
And I do think one of the benefits of not having had an actual student petition come forward is that, again, the board does have more discretion as far as how it wants to select and appoint. And then you have more flexibility in selecting students from different school types.
The last thing was that on the question of having flexibility, I think since I would like us to really work on having our students, so we have flexibility. If somebody comes through in October and, one of our staff's like, this is a person who'd love to get involved in a great opportunity, that we're flexible enough to maybe help make that happen.
Yeah, that's great feedback. Thank you.
Trustee O'Neill?
I was just gonna kind of agree with Patricia. I think the youth liaison, which is I think how you got here, correct? Yeah. Youth liaison would be kind of a nice continuity. And then one from our program would be ideal. But I was also wondering, the target market we would be looking at is kids that are already involved. Could we put a like I know the Jefferson High School District has 2 student liaisons on their board. Could we put a restriction that if you can't be on another board, it's youth liaison would be okay, but you can't be on the Jefferson board as a student trustee and on the county board as a student trustee.
So you can't have too many board positions under your
Correct.
belt.
You-
Yeah,
Is
I-
that something we could put in our policy? I'm just throwing it out for discussion.
I don't think there's anything against that. I think the tendency in these types of positions might be that students are selected from an already pretty go-getter group of students. And then, is the desire here to broaden the net a little bit and allow for more opportunity for students who traditionally may not have had those opportunities, and maybe did not have the means to get to positions like this. Maybe that's a really great leadership opportunity for someone who otherwise would not have been recognized that way. Yeah.
Trustee Bonini?
I just had a request, and maybe just for, the board to consider. When we talked about this in May, I was actually anticipating that the conversation, I was surprised by this, but I'm glad we're fleshing out like what we're doing. But I thought that we would be having more of a conversation around like, how do we get the word out to our students, sort of as Patricia noted. And so I would be interested in future to be a little more clear about that in terms of what I think I would like to see, which would be input from our staff, from the staff at the county office, input from the teachers, and everyone really, like what is the right or an effective way to get students to want to do this? What do we need to, what information do they need to be able to consider this? Those types of things, because that I think is where I feel when we saw this policy and when it was being advocated for by one of our prior student liaisons and working on it, I was envisioning that it would be one of our students. And now I see that that's much more complicated than I initially anticipated it being. And this whole idea of the voting makes me super nervous for that student. I don't like it, actually. And so I want to know, like, we have to do, what does that look like? And what are other counties doing? Because I don't want there to be barriers or giant hurdles in the way of a student actually being willing to step up. I want to make it easier than that. And this is, causing me anxiety. I'm sure it would not be well received and, all of the steps
and
for a
that's where-
student, right? I'm a little worried.
Yeah, and that's where the legislature on their up high, they put in language that says the student shall be selected by their peers who are high schoolers attending schools in the county. So then as I'm sitting there around like legally what's required and what's that process for selection other than to cast votes? I mean, there's really, how do you reach out? And as far as communication strategy and what's the best messaging, I think I would probably say that's in Ed Services Communication Department, and then also our IT division around how do we facilitate something like that. I mean, this presentation is strictly around the legal process, but certainly, yeah, invite more voices to join in as to how to get that word out. I think to Bethany's point, the fact that we have not had student petitions before, I think it's just kids don't know about it. So then how best to communicate that to them, that this is accessible to you, right? And we want to make this easy for you.
Yeah, I appreciate too, all of the information.
Yeah.
I would like to maybe also have us look a little deeper into the legislative intent behind that or the understanding. And if it seems like it's going to be something that isn't, I mean, I can imagine having students within our schools making that decision on that front, or students widely for a non, justice or, whatever, student who's in our programs. But I believe that I would like more information about it so we can kind of do that, have that conversation. And also maybe we need to change that. So maybe it requires some advocacy around how the decision is actually made, like practically, what does that look like? And is that something that might be, traumatizing or such?
Thank you. Trustee Alvaro?
Thank you. Two things. One is, first of all, I don't think that the student has the right to vote the way we vote. I'm sorry, talk with my hands. I think it says that the student can cast preferential votes on all matters except those subject to closed session discussion. But that is a expressing an opinion and is not actually counted as part of the official vote. So there is that little kind of buffer there in terms of, we're not just, having a student come in and now we have 8 votes we have to contend with. It's a
I think
preferential.
they're two different conversations.
Votes. I'm talking about the whole county of students voting.
I
for the
misunderstood
student.
you, and I
Yeah.
thought you were talking about the same thing that Patricia had talked about a minute ago.
Mm.
I misunderstood. So the other thing is, I'm wondering if it would be helpful to you if the board policy subcommittee met with you
Yeah.
to just sort of,
Clean up
hammer out a
what you
couple of bits and pieces, and then it can come back to the board for more discussion and questions and, well, you forgot this and you forgot that.
Yeah, I think
Would
that's
that
a
be
great
helpful to
idea.
you?
Yeah, because there's a lot of fine details in there that I don't want to presume, and so that's why just putting out, like, here's the recommended language that I would suggest we put into a first draft, but certainly we need feedback from the board as far as exactly how do we want to carry that out. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
So, Edith, you're on our committee now, and Patricia, is it okay if we schedule it, I'll do it later on, but schedule like a Zoom meeting with Lisa to sort of flesh this out a little bit more and then bring it back to the board?
I think that's a great idea. We also have some other policies. to be
Okay,
done.
I'll get in touch with everybody then. Thank you.
Trustee O'Neill?
I was just kind of commenting on, if you have a countywide vote, okay, there's kind of an issue is like, Bethany's from Oceana, which is like 500 kids, and somebody from Westmore runs and that has 2,000 kids. Would you get the smaller high schools ever get an opportunity to have somebody up here? And would we want to consider that one year it's District 1, our districts, one is one year, District 1, another year District 2, another year District 3, to try to get a balance of the whole county on there. I'm just throwing that out for discussion, that's all.
That's a good point.
Other comments or questions from the board? I have 3 things. One, I agree with just thinking about equity and opportunity. I'm not in favor of all the students voting, like one of the examples that Trustee O'Neill just stated. Yeah, I also want to make it more accessible for our students so that it's something that's easier, which then also leads to my next point of like communication. Once we solidify policy and everything, if our communications team could put a presentation together that could be presented to the students, ideally with a county board member there. I want to say president, but I don't want to stick that solely to like one role. So maybe either like a person from the subcommittee or a person from policy, someone from the subcommittees or anyone from the board, we can figure out details later. But I think someone from the board should be there to present. So that way, I think just putting a face to that and putting it right in front of students also gives them the opportunity to ask questions. Is something that I would prefer, and I'd be willing to do that if that's what we decide to do. And then, is this something that we could bring to the retreat? Because with policy, I know it's like 3 members, but if it's at the retreat, we're able to get voice and input from all board members. Yes.
I was just thinking that the policy subcommittee could help Lisa refine some of the broader language and questions and stuff, and then it comes back. If you want to have it at the retreat, yeah, but then it's not quite so big a blob, we've sort of pared it down to something that we can all talk about.
Oh yeah, or if we could do both, just an idea, just so that way we're all looking at it. And Trustee Gerard?
Yes, I just kind of want to piggyback on what Trustee Alvaro just said about when I was reading that and looking at it, I thought, oh my gosh, you know, we've taken something that we've done for the last few years relatively simply and turned it into something huge and really complicated. And
I don't think this is county board, it's the.
it just,
It's the
well,
input, yeah, right.
you know, I'm just saying that the more complicated it is, the harder it is to get somebody that wants to do it, quite frankly.
Yeah, agreed.
And, you know, we haven't exactly had people beating our door down the last several years wanting to do it, especially with the county. They prefer to do it with districts. So I'm really concerned about it being so complicated. I'm hoping the policy committee can kind of work through that and make it a little less complicated. And especially if we want to look at our own students. I mean, these kids, you know, don't want to have to jump through hoops. We're going to probably have, I would say, maybe a difficult time convincing them that they would like to do it. So I'm really concerned, quite frankly. And I've been sitting here listening to everybody and I just, I'm starting to panic, I think, that we're just making this huge thing. So
So I think focusing maybe on policy language that's very clean and simple to read and maybe even reads like a checklist so that it's easy to navigate for students. You know, certainly we can focus on that as we're going through that first run draft.
Yeah, I mean, the
I'm
first,
happy to simplify it as much as we can. Yeah, I'm all in favor of that.
it's daunting for an adult when we were running for our positions when it was countywide to have a countywide vote, and for a student to have to go through
Right.
a countywide vote is, I think, well, I think it's ridiculous. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I just don't think that's necessary, but whatever, you know, I just don't. So I just put in my 2 cents worth.
Thank you, Bethany.
I honestly just want to echo a lot of those concerns because I think it's hard enough for a lot of students to even like find out about this opportunity. But if it's like they have to go through hoops to even like try to access it, I think that's just going to prevent people who might be interested from even pursuing this opportunity. And on a related note, does it have to require like 500 signatures or like 10% of the number of students, or could it be something like 100 students or 200?
Yeah, so for the petition process, what the code section says is a petition of either 500 students that come from school districts across the country, or it's 10% of the students enrolled in our court and community schools. So for example, if we had 15 students enrolled in all of the court and community schools, and then like 3 or 4 of them said, hey, we'd like to put forward a petition, they could, that would be enough. So that's really interesting with the way that that language is written. I agree with the language of the statute. I went cross-eyed reading it because I hate the way that it goes, like all of the schools that are under the jurisdiction of the county board, or all of the students that attend the high schools under the jurisdiction of the school districts in the county. I was just like, so I had to put in commas to just separate out all of that. And I just thought, what high school student is going to wade through all of this and understand hopelessly what this means? So yeah, I agree. And we'll work on a very clean version of this draft.
Trustee Bonini.
Just, I guess, as a final comment, my question would be, this policy, I think, was intended to promote having someone involved, right?
Yep.
And I guess my question or my thoughts around it as I hear everybody weigh in is this it's not we haven't been doing this, right? So it's not like a mandated policy, right? You must do this. So what I'm thinking right now really is that we put in place, or it was, I think, raised by Superintendent McGee, in fact, to, you know, seek a liaison from the Youth Commission. Is it possible that we might just do a different process altogether and not do it under this policy? Question for you as the council.
That's a interesting question. So in the absence of any student petition, your question first is, are we mandated to do this? No, you're not. You can either bring on the student trustees or you can choose not to. You can do them one year and not do them the following year. Where you do have a petition from students, then you have to seat them until the board decides not to have any more student trustees. So that's kind of a different process. So in this situation where we're just looking simply at the board opting to recruit and select and appoint, I think looking at the way that the student liaisons are brought in from the youth commission, I have looked at that policy and compared it to the ed code language. And certainly that meets all the check marks as far as selecting a student that comes from one of the high schools in our county. That's fine. And if you want to seat them, one recommendation that I would put in there though is that the term is limited to 1 year. So we'd have to do the 1 year limit. Now, when you talk about a different process, is that something completely different than what we're talking about?
I mean, just something simple as we're sort of suggesting that we might focus on our students within our programs and that we might create a process whereby it would be accessible to them and welcoming and, you know, include us and make it, you know, easier. Because even if it's easy, I don't think we're going to get a lot of applicants.
Yeah, so kind of distilling a couple of trustees' points as far as the desire to bring in candidates from the court and community schools. Certainly if the board would like to remain with the youth commission liaison for the student that's selected from our high schools in the county, and then do a more you know, concerted effort to recruit a candidate from the court and community schools, putting together a presentation and then having a trustee actually go there and speak with the students. I think that's a fantastic outreach opportunity for you to connect with the students and let them know that these leadership opportunities exist for them. I was actually just making notes here, maybe in the draft policy, there can be language around staff to identify and encourage potential candidates that they think would like to be elevated to a position like this. Maybe that would be helpful as well in identifying kids who are interested in something like this. Right?
And then can I name one other barrier that I just thought of? I believe they have the option to join in person or Zoom.
Yep.
Right. If we could provide, or if there could be transportation services that we would add so that they could make it in person. Again, I just thinking of like reducing as many barriers as possible.
And I think we had a comment, I think it was Trustee Alvaro had raised about what if it is a student from Hillcrest and they're not physically able to leave in order to join? Can we have them join by Zoom? Absolutely. Of course you can. Yeah. And I think transportation is a great option, so we can put that language in there as well. Any other thoughts before we kind of knock together first?
Trustee Alvaro?
We can talk about this, but Hillcrest Zoom evening is a really complicated formula to put together.
Is it the Wi-Fi? Yeah. Computer
But
access?
we can talk
We
about
can, yeah, we can work with that. Okay.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Are there any from the public?
We did have yes, Janice Pelzari has a comment. Janice? Okay, you're ready to go?
Okay, I just have one question that if it ends up going out to districts, can it go to our alternative programs who are similar to our kids? I'd rather have our kids do it, but if we want to try to open it up, I would like to see that happen, not just to all the high school kids, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice.
Are there any other comments from the public?
No other comments.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So here, the action item for the board would be, is there a motion to proceed with the formulation of a draft board policy setting forth the process and procedure for recruiting student board members? And then I can add to that the board policy subcommittee to meet with council to review a first draft, which will then be presented at the board retreat. So that's a huge, long action item, but that would be the recommended language for a motion.
Yes.
So moved.
Yes.
Is there a second? Thank you. There is a motion made by Trustee Bonini and a second by Trustee Alvaro. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 7-0, and the board has approved to move forward with that process. Thank you. For item 8B, the board will discuss and act on a joint letter urging local congressional representatives to co-sponsor HR 2598, the IDEA Full Funding Act. Superintendent McGee?
Yes, this came through some broader statewide legislative discussions. I believe board members, was it Board Member Love? Were you involved in this? In someone speaking to you about bringing it to the full board? No?
It came up at one of the task force meetings from some of the staff that was there, brought
Oh.
up that this was happening. And that we might want to consider endorsing it.
Okay.
That's what I remember.
Okay. And so, of course, we have been trying to increase or advocate for full funding of IDEA for years and years and years. It is the right thing to do. The timing is, I guess it's even more important right now, given the timing of the philosophy of the government, of the federal government, that we need more people speaking out loud about this particular advocacy issue. So I would recommend that the board vote to approve this action.
Trustee Alvaro?
Thank you. I love this. I just have one question, and it's on the letter on paragraph 3, where it talks about the trend mirrors state and national data, which indicates the number of students requiring specialized support has increased while enrollment has decreased. Are we talking overall enrollment? Are we talking about enrollment of students requiring specialized support?
I'm going to guess that it's overall enrollment, but Dr. Young, are you available? Do you have a thought about that?
And then if that's so, maybe we could just add that word.
Yeah, let's hear from.
There she is.
Hang on.
Yes, good evening, board members and Superintendent McGee. The overall enrollment has declined in San Mateo County and across the state, while the referral and identification of students for special ed has increased. And this has raised a cost burden on our local school districts. So we are asking for and advocating for full funding, even though this has been an ongoing ask, and it was a promise from Congress over 50 years ago. So thank you.
Trustee Alvaro?
Thank you. So in that case, thank you very much, Dr. Young. I was assuming that's what you meant. I would just ask that we put that word in there so that it is clear that the number of students requiring support has increased while overall enrollment has decreased, because that affects our funding in 2 directions.
Other comments or questions from the board? Are there any from the public?
No comments.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion to co-sponsor this letter made by Trustee O'Neill and a second by Trustee Gerard. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 7-0, and the board has approved to co-sponsor this letter. For item 8C, Marco Chavez, Deputy Superintendent, Educational Services Division, will provide information on the board docs transition process and choosing a new agenda posting platform. Deputy Superintendent Chavez.
Good evening, Board President Torres, board members, Superintendent McGee. Picture this: San Mateo County Board, 2017. agenda online was no longer going to exist. And so we began a transition process to board docs. And so that's what I'm here to talk to you about. So now, fast forward to today, or actually to May of this year, we received notice from that board docs, as we know it, has been acquired by a new company, Diligent, and the current board docs platform is no longer going to exist. So we have to merge all of our documents to a new platform. So this evening, I'm here to share with you kind of a process that we drafted, both to solicit staff input as well as to engage you as a board to provide us your what you value about a platform that you would be interested in transitioning to. Like I said, Board Docs was acquired by Diligent. And so when we learned this, we began to organize ourselves and engage it in developing a process so that we can, at the end, come up with a platform that we're all in agreement. So we started, we convened a small committee of folks that began to explore and research different options that are out there, as well as draft a plan or this timeline so that we could, at the end, our goal is to have something by February so that we can implement. Board Docs has given us the deadline of April to have something in place so that we can transition our documents. So if we implement something by February, it will be all right. Today, I'm sharing that process. That's August 20th. We want to engage in the product review around September. That means we want to, well, we've already identified what platforms are out there that we could explore. And then we want to, once we explore some of those with a tool that we develop, we want to bring those back to you around October. So you're able to maybe hear from the representatives and hear presentations on these different products and get your additional feedback there. Then, again, with the objective of getting people selecting a product, getting people trained, and implementing in February. So like I shared, we convened a committee that obviously Ms. Jennifer Perna is very present and active in the committee, as well as other staff members that work with, for example, the County Committee on School District Organization, the CCSDO. They currently use Board Docs, so they're engaged in the selection process, as well as representatives from our SELPA, our Child Care Council, because all of these different committees currently use Board Docs. So they're providing their feedback. And obviously we partner with our IT team because they help us select the platforms that meet the IT needs for our organization. So in that committee, we started by drafting what we value in terms of these platforms, and I'll share with you in the next slide. But currently, these are some options that are out there. There's Onboard is a platform, eScribe, Diligent is who's acquired Board Docs, Board Pro, and Gamut. Gamut also has a product that is an option. And as we engaged, again, our staff, these are the areas or the items that we value when it comes to using the platform. We want the platform to work on multiple devices, including cell phones, tablets, and laptops. That it's accessible, that usable by everyone, regardless of the person's abilities or disabilities, that it's intuitive to the user, that it has functionality for our board members, our committee members, general public, and staff, that it has a search feature to be able to search agenda items and also in the minutes, that the pricing is something that we can afford and something that we feel is reasonable and using public funds for, that it's aligned to SMCOE's branding and strategies. One of those examples is that it connects well with our website, that it lands well, and that it's able to function there, that it has security features, and also that there's good customer service from the vendors. And so this evening, we would like to just right now brainstorm and capture what you value in the platforms. We can start now, and then we could maybe, if you prefer, we can design a quick tool that we can send out to all of you that you can provide that feedback. But we would like to include what you value as we begin to evaluate these new products. So we'll open it up for a few minutes to capture those thoughts.
Trustee Leff?
Thank you. Just a couple quick thoughts. One is that it's easy for the public to use and the interface is helpful. I don't think the current one is that helpful really or that engaging. And the second thing is that the history is still there. I don't know what happens to all of when we switch to board docs, you can no longer get anything before 2017, I don't think, without going to the website. So what happens to everything for the last few years? Will those still be migrated over or a link to the old system? I'm not sure.
Thank you. That's very important.
Trustee O'Neill?
I agree with Patricia in terms of I definitely like a search feature and have access to prior to conversion would be great. I think I know there's rules and regulations about ADA compatibility and accessibility, so I want to be sure that it meets those legal requirements. And also I would like to see this is actually going to be a cost to districts in a tough budget year. And is there, would it be cheaper if we allowed other districts, a package deal that they're separate, they're totally separate, but let's say you bring us plus 5 districts on, everybody gets it a little cheaper, volume buying, so to speak. I think that would be nice just to kind of support some of the smaller districts that are going to be budget challenged given what the world is right now.
I wrote it down. Yes.
Trustee Alvaro?
Thank you. I thought this was just for county office, so we don't have to really worry about integrating with the other districts on this and stuff.
Right. That's what I'm presenting. That right. This is what we're engaging in is for the county office. But what I'm hearing you say is that if we decide to go with a specific vendor, if we say, what if 5 additional school districts want to buy their own, will there be a discount? It's what I'm hearing. So asking that question.
Okay.
Kind of like
So
Costco buying type of thing.
I would say my number one priority would be that it is easy for staff to use to load all of this documents and everything and have to be loaded. Because I remember what happened in 2017 and how very, very hard that was and how much time it took. Whenever you transition, there's a learning curve, but it suddenly became onerous. It became so difficult for, our staff and to be able to use the thing. And I do want to be very cautious of, Jennifer and anybody else who has to work with it, that it's usable.
Thank you.
Other comments from the board? Trustee Benjamin?
I don't have anything else, but I agree with all that's been said. And I guess if I had a most important one, it would be the historical references that we could search, because I didn't actually know that we didn't have them before a certain time period. I'm not sure if some of them were there, but anyway, that's, I think, really important so that we know what we've done and if we need to look back.
For me, I don't know if Board Docs does this or if there are other platforms that do it. if it translates information for folks so that it's accessible to other languages. And then I agree with the rest of the team. Other comments from the board? Are there any from the public?
Not seeing any comments.
Oh, sorry, I remembered one thing. I wrote it down. So I know there's a cost to this. I saw that there was the CSBA Gamut. Would there also be an additional charge given that we use the service, a lot of their services already?
That is my understanding that this is a separate product. It's called Simbly, powered by Gamut, I believe it's the right name, but I will research all of that.
Okay, no, I figured. I just wanted to ask.
Gamut makes me really nervous because it's not easy to use with the policies at all. So when I saw Gamut up there, I wanted to run up with a red pen and put a big X across it. That's just my opinion. So.
Thank you. We really appreciate the feedback. So what we'll do next is we're gonna integrate your feedback as well as the feedback from the staff into a tool. So as we're reviewing these different products, we'll rate them and we'll select the top 2 or 3, and then those are the ones that we'll bring back to you for additional feedback and for you to ask questions of the reps or materials that they provide.
Awesome, thank you. There is no action to take on this item. For item 8D, when an ad hoc subcommittee meets or a representative attends a meeting related to their given assignment, board members may choose to bring a report to the board at this time. Would any board members like to report out? Trustee Gerard?
Thank you. I'd like to report out on behalf of the Workforce Housing Committee. We did meet with Kevin Baltima and several other people along with Hart, and saw another property in San Bruno. And after a lot of discussion and asking a lot of questions with everyone, we decided that it isn't really the property for us. So we'd like to keep looking.
Thank you. Any questions for the Workforce Housing Subcommittee? Any other subcommittees? Trustee Love?
Just real quick, that the funding task force, which is part of the advocacy subcommittee, is meeting on Monday, August 25th to review a draft report, which will even make its way here, but we're going to get input from the committee members.
And that is in person and Zoom, correct?
That is via Zoom.
Oh, via Zoom, sorry.
Oh, no, it's either in person or via Zoom.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. Thank you. Questions for the advocacy group? Okay, any other subcommittees or representatives that would like to speak? I will speak on representing for ACCBE. I was in Sacramento this weekend with Trustee Gerard, working with the ACCBE group on just our strategic planning for the year and focusing on the mission, vision, and focus areas that we are going to do. And it was a lot of fun. I know some people may not think of strategic planning as enjoyable, but those 2 days were great with amazing people, and there's great work coming. And then I know ACCBE has great workshops coming each month, available on the website. So that's all on my end. Any comments or questions from the board? Are there any from the public?
No comments.
Thank you. There is no action to take on this item. For item 8E, the board will discuss topics for future board agendas. Would any board members like to discuss any agenda ideas? Trustee O'Neill?
Given the large number of comments we received from the outdoor ed staff, I would like some sort of explanation as to why they were hired under one set of rules and state law, and then 6 weeks later, we're taking medical benefits away from them because that's a major expense and issue. So I would like to know how did that happen? If I understood what was said today and the communication from Nancy, they were all hired under the assumption of 40 hours with medical, and then we cut them down to below 30 so they wouldn't get medical.
Trustee O'Neill, I'm not sure that came from me. I don't know for sure that that is actually true. I know the intent was not there. It was more about recognizing that the law had changed. Would it be adequate if I wrote if I worked with Deputy Attorney Cho and we wrote another memo updating the board on what the direction is that we're going in?
Well, I'm just concerned that, now I'm assuming that we hired him effective for a calendar July 1st to June 30th, which is fairly typical. And according to my understanding of what they said is they were hired under one set of terms and then we changed it. And if we knew the law was X, then why didn't we hire them under the rules of law X versus Y?
So if I could just address, Trustee O'Neill, we're happy to provide a follow-up memo to the board. I think this has not been agendized, and so we cannot have
Okay.
a discussion about it, but I'm happy to, yeah, I can.
Well, this was,
speak
the
with
item
the
is to
superintendent.
request future agenda
Right,
items.
right,
So
but
that's why
that's
we,
kind of
yeah.
devolving into a discussion, so perhaps I can touch base with Superintendent McGee and then talk about providing a more detailed memo to the board explaining what was going on.
Okay, thank you. And then for our joint meeting with the Community College Board, I would like to see if the superintendent could approach the Adult School Consortium and see if they would be willing to make a presentation, because that's the one entity that is run by both K-12 districts and the community college district. And I know they're having some big challenges given on the ICE and the drop in enrollment they're having because of the immigration issues. I met with the principal of one of the schools, and I think their enrollment's quite substantial because of people scared to come to school. And I would like to see if they would be interested in doing a presentation to the joint meeting.
Thank you. Trustee Bonini?
I have one question and then I have two follow-ups. One is, there's this item that's been on our other topics for the last few meetings, which is civics education, emphasizing the Bill of Rights. And I don't know I don't know what it is or where it originated from. I'm just curious who requested it or where it came from.
I requested that we put on the agenda that this board vote that we support the Bill of Rights, and it's never
Oh, I
been put
see.
on the agenda.
I see. Okay, thank
And
you
that's
for
the
clarifying that.
only response I know of from that
Okay.
request to put
Thank
on
you.
the
I
agenda.
I sort of remember that. Okay, and then also, in regard to the, the joint meeting with the community college district, we discussed in meetings past that it would be a great idea to have a subcommittee to meet with board members from the community college district who I had raised it and I had talked to a couple of them and they wanted to have a conversation for like planning. And so my request is to have an agenda item where we form a subcommittee so that can actually happen, the planning. And then in regard to the outdoor education issue, I know it's maybe somewhat related or maybe is related to staff, of course, and HR. However, I do not understand the change of, how that came about. So, I mean, I do think it would be helpful for the board to have more information about it, given that we're hearing it. And also for the main reason of, I want to understand, one, how it's impacting the program, because that is very important to our board, I believe. And then also whether they're whether it was a decision that was made or whatever it is, whether there are any other options. And it did sound to me like there were some discussions that might be happening as a follow-up, but in any case, I think that beyond the staff issue, the programmatic issue is something that I would like to hear more about. So I don't know if the board has any feeling about that.
I just want to echo that I agree. Again, I know the staffing and HR doesn't fall under our jurisdiction, but if it's impacting the programming, or if the programming is going to look different, then I would also like an update on how that's going to look.
Also,
And can I add one thing to that?
Yes.
The other thing that I'm curious about is just, there was a note, I think it was part of just informational, but it was regarding sustainability or something about the program. And so I would actually like to understand the cost of the program and what is impacted in regard to funding, because if it's a funding issue and it's a budgetary issue, potentially that might fall within our jurisdiction as well.
Yes, like a comparison cost of, yes, I also agree. Other topics for future board agendas? There is no action to take on this item. For item 8F, board members will comment. Youth Commission Liaison Zhao.
Firstly, just to start off with a little update, I've been interning with the Office of Supervisor Ray Mueller this summer, which has been an awesome experience. He's super cool and everyone from his office is amazing. And I feel like I've learned a lot. And it's also great to be in the office of my own supervisor. So that's been really fun. And I also did want to say that I think this will be my last board meeting. I just want to thank you all so much for these last 2 years, not just like this opportunity to be here with you all, but especially for all of the, support and guidance and just like everything you guys have helped me with. And just really, it's been such a pleasure to get to know all of you. I'll be leaving for college, Northwestern in Chicago, early September. But don't worry, I'll come back to visit. Can't get rid of me that easy.
Trustee Love.
Well, thank you. You're the first item on my list. It's been such a pleasure working with you from those first days. Remember with the interview and you were late for the interview and we were managing the whole thing, to having the opportunity to sit with you up here has been wonderful. It's been great to get to know you and watch all you've accomplished. And I hope that you stay in touch and then we'll get to hear more because it really has been an honor. So thank you for that. And it was great to see Christina Sellers being honored, another wonderful member of the SMCOE team. And a special thank you to Deputy County Attorney Lisa Cho. She's done a lot of work. She was very involved in all of this, and I appreciate all the good counsel she has offered. And I have strong feelings about Outdoor Ed, a lot of issues raised in that, and I think we're going to hear more about it. So that's great. Just the passion of all those people that were here just is testament to what an amazing program that is. And then I was just recently appointed to an AI working group by the state for CDE, and that's going to get up and going. There's only a couple meetings involved, but it's a topic that I'm interested in. I think it's important, so I'm happy to do that.
Awesome. Trustee O'Neill.
I just wanted to invite anybody that wishes to come in Pacifica on August 30th. There's a couple of parents that lost their son to an overdose of fentanyl, and they've actually started a nonprofit called Hope for Change 650, and they had a memorial walk that last year or the year before, where there was over 200 people walking down Highway 1 with pictures of their loved ones that they had lost to drug overdoses. And they're having that memorial walk again and on August 30th, 10 o'clock at the Moose Lodge on Bradford in Pacifica. And it's a way to try to memorialize the issues and what the goal of the nonprofit is, and they've actually been able to place it, is to replace free Narcan dispensers around, so that if you have a drug overdose, you can use, Narcan is available for you to use. And they have it located in 4 different places in Pacifica, and one of them has already saved one life. And they have access to refill the Narcan dispensers, and each Narcan dispenser is, I think, like $500. So they're a nonprofit soliciting money to get these dispensers. So if anybody's interested, feel free to contact me and I can send you the flyer.
Thank you. Trustee Alvaro?
Thank you. First of all, Bethany, you absolutely rock. I've told you this before. You are going to do great things. I mean, you've done great things here, but we're a tiny little microcosm. You're going to do great things. And please do keep us informed as you move along. It's just amazing to hear about some of our previous youth liaisons and some of the things they're doing. And you know, we can be very proud. I feel very proud that at some point we'll say, you know, we helped her a little bit. You know, she was part of our team and we pushed her a little bit. We supported her a little bit. We guided her a little bit. You know, you're doing the heavy work, but if we can say that we helped you a little bit, that's good enough. So thank you for being part of our team for all this time. I also just wanted to bring up 2 of the resolutions. Thank you for the one for Elkis, the 50th. When I sent an email asking about it to President Torres and Superintendent McGee, the response was like, yes, let's do this. I've been aware of them since 1990, which kind of feels like I'm a newcomer to their game. And I've been out there so many times because they have all these different programs that they do. And Cabrillo, of course, is the recipient of a lot of the help because it's right there in my backyard. But I mean, just amazing things. Like I remember when they put in a scent garden because they had students come out who were visually impaired and they wanted them to enjoy nature just as much as the other kids. And so they made a scent garden so that if you can't, you know, see the roses and the lavender and the sage, you can still experience it. You can touch it, you can smell it. So I think they're amazing. And thank you for the resolution. And then also just thank you, as I say every year, for the resolution on CMT Awareness Month. I've had CMT all my life. I wasn't diagnosed until I was like 50. But there were all these things that nobody could quite figure out what was wrong with me, especially when I was a kid. You know, it was like, well, she's clumsy and she falls down a lot and she can't catch a ball. But the reason for raising awareness is not just to help find cure possibly someday, who knows, but that if we can help kids, especially, you know, a kid who has a vision problem, we catch it early and we help them so that they function better in school. And a kid who has a hearing problem, we catch it early. And so our hope is that as teachers become more aware, as parents and even doctors, when I was first diagnosed, I had to come back and tell my doctor what it was. So, you know, to be able to raise awareness, I think is just, you know, just one more thing that we can do to help our kids be more successful. So thank you for that. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Arias?
Well, first of all, Bethany, I didn't have the chance to be the whole time with you, but I know you're a change maker. So I wish you the best. I know you're going to do good. And just like Trustee Alvaro said, we want to hear back. We want to feel like what's happening with you. So definitely, you know, congratulations again for, you know, everything that you've done. So thank you. Thank you for your service. I also want to just mention quickly about the outdoor ed. I'm very, I hope as everybody else ask about more clarification and understanding about it, because the 3 of my children went to outdoor ed and it was the most definitely life-changing experience. My oldest is 34. He went into 5th grade, but he was in the special education. And it felt like he wouldn't be able to go, but because of this outdoor ed program and the accommodations that they did, he was able to join it, and just, it was the first time he ever left home. So it was just very exciting for him to participate. So I really hope that we can support and we can make a difference to continue what they've done for more than 50 years. Then also have a little bit of here of my, also thank you to the board for approving for me to go to the National Association of Latino Elected Officials, which happened on July 22nd to the 24th. And I attended, it was 3-day, and I attended several sessions. And even though I cannot do a whole 3-day summary, I like to just share really quick the sessions that I attended. I had lessons learned from LA, especially regarding the racial profiling by ICE and the importance of holding Know Your Rights events. I attended also the AI in the workforce, opportunity challenges and policy considerations. In the education track, fostering school board and superintendent relations. I did investing in Latinas through financial empowerment and entrepreneurship. Another one on professional development for Latinos in public and corporate sector. And another one on expanding the homeownership for stronger communities. One for mental wellness for public officials, and the future of public education, which really interesting, gives information of the state education policy tracking, and the website ecs.org talks about the whole nation and how they track the education policies around that. Then I also want to say that I attended this Monday, the August 18th from 5:30 to 8:30 SMCBA for the first time. Very thankful for the opportunity, and I think it was a great meeting. I enjoyed it and was able to meet others, which I think the icebreaker opportunities were great. And well done in less than, I think it was about 2 hours. The first time, the first half hour, we were more networking and having dinner. I did volunteer with the bylaws committee if they can have me. So hopefully I'll do it, that part of the committee. And then lastly, I just want to invite the South San Francisco has Cultura Fest this Saturday from 11 to 5. They're closing the Grand Avenue, and it's going to be a lot of music. It's a festival, and it's the most, again, about 6 hours of entertainment and cultura. So we're all invited. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Bonini.
I just wanted to say welcome back to all staff and especially teachers for from summer and starting the school year. It sounds like things are getting going, so that's good. It was really wonderful also to meet the new staff members. So I appreciate that, and welcome to everyone. As Trustee Arias mentioned, we had our first planning meeting for the San Mateo County School Boards Association, and it went well. As she noted, we did a lot of networking. We had a pretty good attendance. We were here, so thank you to all staff who helped set up the room next. Well, I guess this half of the room, the other half in a circle structure so we could interact. And we really were working on programming for the year. And we really feel like we wanted to have input from not just the board, but also members. So we had members who weren't area trustees or on the executive committee who came, which was really great. So I'm still compiling some of the information, but we're trying to pin down what we're going to do for our quarterly meetings. We just, as a heads up for the board though, I think that those are likely going to be on like the third Monday of the months we choose, but more information will be coming soon. So it's going to be a good year. And thank you to Trustee O'Neill for coming and Trustee Arias. And lastly, Bethany, it's been wonderful to have you. I'm so glad you asked if you could stay another year and that we were able, to do that. And from our first interview with you, Trustee Gerard and I were super impressed, and obviously it's been just amazing to have you here and to see all the things that you're doing in the community, coming to meetings, and I see you out in public speaking. You're an amazing public speaker, and I'm so excited for you to start college. So enjoy every second. And that's it. All I have.
Thank you. Trustee Gerard.
Thank you. I'm going to turn to Bethany first because I have always been so excited that she's been with us. As Trustee Benini just said, we were the ones that interviewed her, and I was very, very impressed. Plus, she was from Oceana, and you can't go wrong with someone from Oceana, and she was our first North County liaison. And so we had really a lot to be proud of right off the bat. And you proved us to go above and beyond all of our expectations. So thank you for everything. And most of all, thank you for the relationship we have, because I think that that is the most important thing of all. And I'm so proud of everything you've accomplished, and of looking forward to see what's in the future. I just can't imagine. You can go wherever you want to go. And the only thing I ask is that you really, really do keep in touch, and not just say, yes, I will. And then you'll be so busy in Chicago, you'll forget all about us. So don't do that. Okay. And we'll miss you a lot. And I love your outfit that you got in China. It's great. It's wonderful. So best of luck, Bethany, really. I really mean that from the bottom of my heart. So. Okay, it's a deal. I also would like to say that I was, quite frankly, very impressed with the number of our outdoor ed folks, our naturalists and internists that were here this evening. My children, all three of them, attended outdoor ed. And so I know how important it is. And it's such a remarkable program. And it has been around for 60 years. And just some of the things that the students that were here this evening had to say really proves that it goes above and beyond just learning about nature. It also is teaching so much about relationships and human bonding and all of the things that trust, really, more than anything. And I really, really want to see this problem that we have worked out, because it has done such remarkable things that I don't want to see that threatened, and I will be extremely upset if it is. So say that for that. And I'm also looking forward to hearing, hopefully at the next meeting, how all of our schools have done on their school openings. And hopefully the kinks in the community court and community schools that Janice was talking about this evening will be worked out soon, so that our students will be getting the education and help that they need from our teachers and staff. I also was at the meeting, as Hugo said, with the ACCBE this past weekend, and they are doing absolutely remarkable things. It's unbelievable what this group has accomplished in such a short amount of time. And they have an absolutely amazing program already set up. I was just on a meeting yesterday. I came from the 2-day meeting and jumped right into another one yesterday on our programs. I'm on the planning committee. And ironically enough, two of the things that we're going to be highlighting are our student liaisons. And we're having 2 workshops on that. One with the how-to, and the second will have student liaisons there on a panel with board members, so that they can talk to them and hopefully really get to understand what they do, because a lot of counties that don't have them don't understand the value, and there's a huge value. The other thing that we're doing is we're doing 3 sessions on deep dives with court and community schools. And I have the dates, but of course, I don't have my paper with me that I wrote it all down on. But you can go on our website, the ACCBE website, and I also will be sure to bring them next time. But they really are, we have guest speakers for each one. And I think they're really, really going to help a lot of counties with their court and community schools. And our next event, which I hate to say the date, is August 25th. And it's going to, again, conflict with our school funding. And this one is going to be at 6 o'clock on that Wednesday night, and it's going to be on setting superintendent salaries. And John McPherson from the Monterey County Board of Education is going to be doing it. And he did an excellent presentation at the conference last year. So he's going to be doing it this year. So I'm looking forward to an exciting new school year for all our teachers and students. And with that, I think that's all for this evening.
Thank you. I'm also going to start with Bethany. You have been such a part of the team for so long that I forgot you were leaving. That or I just didn't want to believe it. But I've just been in awe of all the work that you've done and the accomplishments that you've had while we've gotten to know you. So I just can't imagine what you're going to be doing out in Chicago. You'll probably be back here for the winter break, which is when I go to Chicago because my family's in Chicago. So we'll probably catch each other at the airport or somewhere, but definitely keep in touch. Anything that you need from us, we're always available. I'll speak for myself, but I know they will also be available to you. Anything that you need, and then just catching up when you get back. Whoever comes next has some big shoes to fill. So we're gonna miss you, but we'll see you soon. Yeah. For our outdoor ed, I always appreciate when communities can get together and advocate for what's important to them. And the extra special piece to me is when our youth get involved and they advocate, and I love seeing our youth here advocating their voice. And then speaking of our youth, I'm hoping that by the time we have our next visit to our current community schools, which I hope would be soon, we get to see all the kinks worked out and seeing our new leaders in action. Yeah, and then even hopefully, depending on when we go, have a presentation ready for them to let them know of some opportunities for them. Next, I'd also like to welcome back all the staff. I've also been back at school, and it's been a very tiring week, but very fulfilling, and it's a lot of work, but once we get back in routine, it'll be easier. So thank you to all of our teachers, our staff, our families, and everyone who's working to make sure our students are in school. And then I was also in Naleo for the conference. So amazing to just connect and collaborate with so many other leaders. There was a small crew from other departments of San Mateo County there. So it was great for all of us to just be in the same space, to learn and grow together and just figure out what we can do to further collaborate on supporting our families, especially right now, given the ICE rates, and just support our students in different forms of education. I also had the privilege of popping into the county's Day of Discovery. I was only able to stay for a little bit, but it was amazing to see everyone all together in one room. I don't know how often that gets to happen. Just the energy in the room, folks were so excited about the learning that they were going to happen and looking at the workshops. It seemed like a very intriguing and thought-provoking event. And so I'm hoping they're able to get more of that. And yeah, hopefully get to how everything went, because I haven't been able to follow up. And then other than that, I already discussed the ACCBE. I do have the dates. So Trustee Gerard mentioned August 25th for setting the superintendent's salary. The other one is September 22nd, which is effective governance practices for county boards. And then the one in October is October 9th. And that is the first session of 3 for the deep dive of the court and community schools. And then I will also be at the Cultura Fest on Saturday, so I hope to see other folks there as well. And that concludes my comments. Item 9 is the adjournment. So the next regular meeting will be the social dinner and regular meeting on Wednesday, September 3rd, 2025. The social dinner will begin at 5:30 p.m. and the regular meeting will begin at 7 p.m. This meeting is now adjourned.
Good night, everybody. Good meeting. Good to see
Good
everybody.
night, Nancy.